Now, I present to you another rules, and Professor Tonietto was so kind enough to distribute them to you, that you have them at hand. The question is, when you have an eye which does need reoperation, now I should do more because I was not successful, or the other surgeon was not successful. Why does a reoperation, an eye which has to be reoperated, a detachment, not still follow the rules I was explaining to you? Remember, the contours, that is the secret. Who likes to go through failures? We did it to help you. We had 752 regional detachments treated with segmental buckling without drainage and 87 failures. My God, 87 failures. Believe me, we looked carefully prior to surgery for the break and we did nice studies. However, we had 87 failures. Question, analyze. 39 eyes were a failure, and actually, out of the 87%, 45%, the half of it, due to the case that a break was overlooked. And surprising, I thought we'd do buckling quite well after doing quite a long time. In 27 cases, 31%, every third failure was due that the break was not buckled sufficiently. So let us put this together. In 80%, 8 of 10, no, I want my water, please. So thoughtful, thank you.
That's okay.
Drinking is permitted, it's just water. In about 80%, 8 of 10 failures were due that the break was not found or not buckled correctly. Now let's look. Here is a detachment. It is a detachment going from, why does it not work? Going from 5 to 11 o'clock. We found a break at 10. You have the rules in front of you. According to rule number 1, buckled very well, there's nothing to complain. And the next day, a residual detachment. Was it absorbed fluid which did not disappear? No, this detachment extended from aura to disc, and it had convex contours. And this detachment follows, again, rule number 1. The hole should be 1.5 clock hour beneath. And you say, why did you not find this break? We looked carefully. Yes. However, the break was tiny. And how are you certain the next time to find it? All right, we behave like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We drew the vessel from the disc after the first bifurcation to the left, the second to the right, ha-ha, there is a little break. Now the question, it is a reoperation. Do we have now to drain? No, it's the same mechanism. Let's look. There was a buckle done, and the next day the retina was attached. Now let's define. You have the rules hopefully already in your pocket. Rule number 1. Reoperation. When the superior border of a detachment drops below the buckle of a temporal or nasal superior detachment, it implies an undetected break within 1.5 clock hours below the new border. You see, the retina, even in reoperation, reacts logical to the position of the break. The only thing, you have to be logical to understand this logic. Now let's continue. Another detachment. Here we have a detachment. It went from 10/12 to 4 o'clock to 3 o'clock. There was a large tear. We didn't use gas. We didn't do a vitrectomy. And a tiny little break, and we did the large buckle. The next morning, my God, the detachment did not disappear. However, it changed a little bit the extent. And We discussed, we were uncertain. Is this perhaps the cause that there is a traction? But that was not so certain. If it would be traction, what would it be? Remember the speak of Dr. Schroff. It should be concave. No, it is a convex contour. The retina is logical. So there should be a break. We didn't know what to do. We double-patched ambulatory. And the next day, the detachment was smaller. It went from 1 to 3 o'clock. Where should be the break? It was a temporal superior detachment. Remember, rule number 1. You have it now printed with you. 1.5 clock hour beneath, there should be the break. We looked and looked. Lattice, is it not the lattice? Perhaps we should have treated the lattice. No, holes in lattice are pseudo-holes. However, you remember what I told you before. At the posterior edge of a lattice, there can be a tiny hole. Yes, there was this tiny hole. But how to find it so tiny and so posterior? All right, what did we do? Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, we made drawings. We go from the disc. The first vessel, we go to the right and then to the left. There is the hole. However, this hole is very posterior, and that is difficult to suture a radial buckle. At that time, we were very lucky. We had a balloon. A balloon was inserted later on. If we have time, we show you the balloon operation. We inserted a balloon. We did not drain, though it was before a failure. What happened? The retina attached. And you may now say, this doctor there is lattice. You could have done laser or cryo. No, we treat only what is needed today. We don't do unnecessary prophylaxis. Remember Professor Mennel. We treated there the balloon with coagulation, and that was the entire treatment. We inserted the balloon, inflated it, and then coagulated, and that was it. Rule number 2 for reoperation. When the pattern of a detachment converts from one pattern to another one, it indicates, listen, an undetected break consistent with the new pattern. And there you can use the first 4 rules of Lincoff. Now let's see, there are other failures. Let's continue. Here we had a detachment from 4 o'clock over 6 to 11 o'clock, and the resident was happy. A nice horseshoe tear at 9 o'clock. Should be easy. We did ambulatory double patching. The detachment was a little flatter. Next day, nothing has moved. Failure? Or should we just wait? Be critical. The retina reacts logical. The buckle was done very well. The hole is nicely supported with coagulation around. The detachment did not change. It still is extending from 4 over 6 to 11 o'clock. What was the reason? Traction? No, the contours are convex. Understand the logic of the retina. Remember, this hole at 9 o'clock is 2 clock hours beneath the superior border. And now take out of your pocket the rules. Rule number 1. 1.5 clock hour beneath. The hole was too far away, and the doctor was happy, just have found a hole at 9 and did not look more that there was another tiny little hole. Why did we overlook it? It was too small. What did we do to find it, at least during reoperation? We drew the vessel from the disc to find for certain the break in reoperation. And here we used as well a balloon buckle. Now, rule number 3 for reoperation. When the borders of a detachment remain unchanged after a buckle operation, and the buckle is in correct position of the break you thought is the only break to be treated, this implies an undetected break above the buckle. Marvelous. Reoperation gets so more logical. You are not a victim of the eye. You have to understand the retina. Now, the last rule, number 4. Here we have a detachment. It's a case of Dr. Lincoff in New York. A patient had 4 cerclages with drainage and diathermy. And always when there was a failure, the cerclage was moved more posterior. It was strained. Of course, the hole was not found. The retina is logical. It detaches if you don't find the break, which should be treated. Then it came to New York. Ha! Is this traction detachment? No, no, the contours are convex. What does it tell you, the retina? There is a break you overlooked. There is a traction line. No, it's convex. It's just the basis of the vitreous. And if you have a total detachment after a cerclage, where do you have to look for the actual extent of a detachment? Look anterior to a cerclage. Yes, if you look anterior, it really is a total detachment. And now remember the Lincoff rules number 2. In 93%, the hole should be at 12 o'clock. And the more anterior it is, the more towards 12 o'clock it is. And there was a break. Now it's the 5th operation. Should we drain? There was no drain. Dr. Lincoff made a tiny radial buckle without drainage, and the retina reattached. Is this a failure here? Look, the retina tells you. How is the contour? I told you to look at concave. That is traction. It disappears by itself. After time there was done years ago very much diathermy. Now, rule number 4 for reoperation. When a total detachment remains unchanged after being encircled and drained, it implies an undetected break anterior to the existing cerclage near 12 o'clock. And all of this and all these slides are described in this book we had presented to you earlier. And I think now let's continue the next one. Around 20% we thought could be traction. And here's a case. This was treated with a radial buckle. The buckle was not, now we talk about the inadequate buckle. That was, the horseshoe tear was quite well buckled. However, the horn of the horseshoe tear at 11 o'clock was not very well supported. There was a residual leaking detachment. At that time, we had the balloon. What did we do? Not to open the eye very much and to make a larger buckle. We inserted the balloon on top, beneath conjunctiva, on top of the buckle indentation got larger, the retina reattached, and since the retina was longer detached for several days, we had to do laser to the reattached remaining part of the buckle. Now let's look for this, what I was alerting to you earlier. It must be traction. It was difficult to define in our failures. And here is an outraging, very difficult eye. It was treated before vitrectomy was around. It was treated by Lincoff. The flap of the giant tear was overlapping the disc, in which many rotation maneuvered, and Lincoff really was lying on the floor looking to all of this. He managed with the perfluorocarbon gases to reattach the giant tear. The posterior edge was treated with cryo, and the patient went home, attached retina. And we explained to him what you were alerted to before, to test visual field. Suddenly the patient came, I think there's something not all right. The resident looked into the eye. Yes, there is another giant tear. Be critical, look carefully. It is not a giant tear. What is it? Just a tear like this. At one part, the tear was torn to a little tear. Why? A starfold. Why did a starfold come after gas? We know we are happy if a vitreous is detached, if we inject gas. Think of Cotaris talk. If you inject gas in the vitreous, you might reattach the vitreous, and gas causes cellular reaction, causes finally the complications he mentioned, PVR. What to do? Should we do here vitrectomy now? It's convex contours. The retina tells you what to do. There is no traction in this area. What did Lincoff do? Logic. He treated it with a short, small radial buckle. Reoperation. Did he drain? No, without drainage. And the retina reattached. Now, conclusion for you. If there is a reoperation, I would think or dare to suggest to you, think at first whether it's not possible a localized surgery without drainage. And there is a meta-analysis of Lincoff, and he found out that after minimal segmental buckling without drainage, the postoperative PVR rate is, listen, 0.9%. The second thought might be, it's my opinion, primary vitrectomy. There's also a meta-analysis by Lincoff, because Lincoff was always very analytic and logical, what was said. And I want to put in your brain when you go home. Question always, when someone is telling you, we do this, ask why. And if they cannot explain it to you, perhaps you got a solution to think about. A primary vitrectomy, he found out by meta-analysis, PVR is already higher, 6 times higher, 5.9%. That's much. And in addition, after vitrectomy, you might get a cataract. Or you think about what Professor Kotari was telling you, pneumatic retinopathy. And there's also a meta-analysis by Lincoff, critical as he is, and he taught us to be critical. He found out that after pneumatic retinopathy, the rate of PVR is 6.5. Compare this with minimal segmental buckling, 0.9%. Conclusion. When you operate on a primary retinal detachment, the first operation you select according to your conception or to your knowledge. This first operation determines the future of this eye of your patient. And always be aware of this. And to do the minimum of surgery, here are the rules Professor Tonietto had put together for you. These 8 rules help you to do minimal surgery. You have to invest time to find the break. You have to be excellent in binocular ophthalmoscopy. Otherwise, doing surgery, you don't find the break. You remember the parallax you have to avoid. In a primary detachment, there we have 4 rules. And in a reoperation, also 4 rules. And I think when you have this in your pocket and sometimes also in your thinking, it might be to the benefit of your patient. Thank you very much. Now we have to continue. Are there questions? If not, we continue, because we want a video session. The next